Your I can statement for today is I can subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So we've been working for the past week on adding fractions with unlike denominators, and luckily for you, subtracting fractions with unlike denominators is a very similar process, just using subtraction. So the first thing I want to take a look at is our sample problem. It says, Rose bought the length of a copper pipe shown below. She used 1/2 yard to repair the water line in her house. How much pipe does she have left over? So always start with my cubing strategy, circling any key numbers. 1/2 yard. The length of the copper pipe shown below, the length that she bought was 4/6 yard. This is the length that she purchased. She used 1/2, so those are my key numbers. I'm going to underline the question. How much pipe does she have left over? I'm going to box any keywords, and I'm going to put left over as important, and maybe yard. I'm going to eliminate anything that I don't need to know. And then I'm going to solve. So again, you have two options. You can use fraction strips, or you can solve using an equation. So I'm going to show you with fraction strips first. If this confuses you, by all means, you do not need to use this. So if you're using fraction strips, I would pull out a fraction strip that represents one whole. So that's this yellow piece here. So all it's showing me is that 6 1/6 pieces would fill out this whole strip, okay? This fraction strip right here represents 4/6 of the pipe, which is what she bought. So you can see there's 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, and 4/6 right here, and that represents what she purchased. And then this 1/2 fraction strip represents the portion that she used. So she bought all this and only used 1/2 yard. Okay, not half of a 4/6. She didn't use half of this shape, because this would be half of the shape, right? She used 1/2 yard. So please make sure that you're keeping that in mind when you're reading. She didn't use 1/2 of 4/6 yard. She used 1/2 a whole yard. Okay, so I need to ask myself, well, what is the equation that I have here? What are they asking? How much pipe does she have left over? So the equation would be 4/6, which I got from her original pipe purchase, which is right here, shown below. 4/6 is what she bought, and she used 1/2 yard. So she bought 4/6 yard, and she used 1/2 yard. So I'm subtracting these. Okay, and if I'm using fraction strips, I'm going to look at what 1/2 yard is equivalent to. So I line this up exactly, and I see that 1/2 yard is equivalent to 1, 2, 3/6. Okay, so that means that if I take this whole chunk away, right, because that's how much she used 1/2, which is right here, and we know that 1/2 is equivalent to 3/6. If I take that whole chunk away, that means that I have only this much left over. I have 1/6 left over because I took 1/2, this fraction strip, away from my original pipe, and I have 1/6 left over. So that would be 4/6 minus 1/2 equals 1/6 if you're using fraction strips. If you're going to find the common denominator in equivalent fractions, you can set up your problem like this. So 4/6 represents the pipe that she bought, 1/2 represents the pipe that she used, and the question mark represents the remaining pipe that she has left over. So remember, the first thing that we need to do is find equivalent fractions, because I cannot subtract unlike denominators. I cannot say 4 minus 1 is 5 and 6 minus 2 is 4. I cannot say that. These denominators need to be the same. When I'm looking at this, I can solve this by noticing a pattern that 2 times 3 would give me 6, and that's the denominator that I have over here. So I'm going to turn 1/2 and say that 3 over 3 will give me an equivalent fraction to 1/2 and also a denominator of 6 in the bottom. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. I know that 1/2 is equal to 3/6, and it also has the same denominator as 4/6. So now my new equation becomes 4/6, which is from right here. I didn't have to change that denominator. And I have to take away 3/6, which is really the same as 1/2 because I found an equivalent fraction for it. So now I can subtract. I leave my denominator the same. That doesn't change, just like in addition, but I subtract my numerators. And I know 4 minus 3 gives me 1. So my answer would be 1/6 of the yard of pipe is left over, which is the same thing that we have up here. 1/6 yard of pipe is left over. So you can solve it in two ways. You can use your fraction strips to help you and see what's remaining, or you can find your common denominator using equivalent fractions and subtract that way.